Welcome back, guys, to a new series. If you have been following from the last time, so last time we had like different control, like some text boxes. We bound some of the text boxes and they stayed a drop-down list. So what I have done so far is basically all our control is now is bound. So let me show you some of the things, some of the control that I wanted to show you. Okay, this is the last control, like a state that we did last time. We bound that to a data that we have in our resource folder, and then okay, so this is the new one that I added. So just like exactly like the same pattern as a state. So basically, I have let me open my component a class here. So just like US state, I have a. Let me make this code a little nicer. Okay. Just like state, I have a public properties here called countries of data type country array, and the value that basically all the array that I have, I'll show you later in the file, is just getting assigned to this one here. So my in my resource folder here, just like the US state, I have countries. I didn't write this. It is some code that I found in a GitHub. So basically, this is very simple. Here's a state, and it's not really a state thing. I mean, here is just a country, the defined country with this interface here. The ISO name, that's basically two-digit ISO name of a country, and the name, and all bunch of other information. But in my case, I really don't care about other thing. I only care about ISO and the name. And then once this interface is defined, they have a class here called countries. That's how the interface is implemented, is used by this countries object array. Okay, that is what I'm basically importing as a resource. So once I import those country and the country interface and the countries array object, I basically assign that value to my countries property here. That's how the binding is really working. So this one is this ng directive, just making sure we have a countries that's coming out, and then we have basic form here, which is tied up with our model called country name here, and I'm just iterating over into the countries list. Like I said, the country's ISO name is bound to the value of the drop-down list, and this is the text. The name going to be the text. And this is also a required field, so I have a validation. Even before that, I made a mistake last time when we were developing in my last video tutorial. So it was not working because I had a typo here. This job title, it was, instead of having valid property, which I had like is valid or something. That's why the validation was not working. I really apologize for that one, because it is a valid. That's the name of the property. Okay, not the is valid. That's why my validation is not working. For instance, like I type something here and then try to get rid of this one here. This job title is required. The validation error message comes right away. And once I type something, it goes away. Okay, that validation was not working before because of the typo. Okay, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about. And the other control that is kind of a little important was some of the data that was coming out from the backend database, from the lookup table. That's binding is very for the exactly this. Okay, let's look it into one of those binding. Okay, for instance, industry is a good example. So here is our industry here. Exactly the same idea, which tied up with the industry ID of our model, developer job industry ID. And then we're just basically iterating through the ID is going to be the value, that's what would be set, and the name of the name going to be the actual text for the drop down list, and is also required field with the same validation. Okay, that is only thing that I didn't cover from this page. Now at this point we have all our control is basically we have everything that we need. We have job title, we have company name, address 1, address 2, city, state, zip code, and the country, all the countries of the world as a drop-down list. And then we have a remote option as a drop-down, whether user provides a remote option or not. And then same thing for the profit sharing, whether provides the equity for and then we have a job types is also company type. There's also these are the data coming from the backend database, and the same thing for the job type and the industry. And finally, this is where we'll be entering here's the description of the text, a description of the job type that the candidate that company is trying to advertise for the prospective employees. Okay, that is that. Next thing now we can do, since we have our validation in the form is done, we have all our form is written. Now next thing we have to do, we should be able to save this data into backend database, right? Of course, to do that we need to have a service. Let's go ahead and write that code. If you have been following along, we have this developer job.dataservice.ts, a TypeScript. So in here we can write a method. The method, let's save developer job. This can be our service, and to the service, the color of this method must call the let's call a developer job of type developer job. This developer job right here is available. It recognized as a developer job because I have imported developer job model into this file. Okay, so before I should be able to save this one, I need to have a couple of so from this HTTP, the HTTP module, I would need to import the headers and the request option before I can make a post into my service. So let's define a header here. The way you define header is just you can create a new instance of the headers object, and this header basically takes the MIME type. You're just going to say the content type, that's the basic MIME type, content type. Oh, duh, this should be an object, so that object, and the value, as you might have guessed now, the value of this object going to be just the application/JSON data. JSON. And I'm missing my curly braces here. Okay, that's that. Once that is defined, we can also we can define request option object. All this request option, all the headers is basically coming out from the HTTP module, one of the module from that package. And that request option object basically expect the header information. You can set the header as the header that we defined here. Generally this could be like we can have a multiple header information right now. Just in our case we just need one header right now. So I'm going to make it as a plural. It could be a multiple header. We can, instead of just In this particular case, we don't really need it, but like based on the requirement, we can have multiple headers set here. Okay. So once that is all done, then we can call our we just can say return this HTTP. So now this HTTP is available because of we have done our the constructor injection here. So we have this HTTP, and we can call the post method, because this time we are posting our data to the backend service. And then what we're posting is, of course, it's going to be a base URL. I have to refer that to this, that's base URL, and then it should be the endpoints should call developer jobs. And this is our first parameter, and then the second parameter of this one would be this is actual data that we are posting, this JSON data, developer job, and the options as the third parameter, like that. This is all we have to do in our service. So our caller, basically from our component, will be invoking this method here. So here, okay, this looks okay. Now let's go ahead and save this one, and let's go back into the add job component. If you guys remember, we have this little method here called onSubmit. That's when user basically submit that button, and all those data has to be posted into the backend database. So let's write some. Now we have to invoke that method that we just wrote, just to make sure if this dot data div job, that's where all our data would be. This is not, we know it's getting data and everything, but just for the being extra defensive, we can say just basically saying at least they put something into a job title. Means at least they are not just randomly submitting. Okay, once that is all done, now we are ready to invoke our method. So we can say this, we have data service, injected data service, and we have a save method here, save developer job, and it expect this the developer job as an input parameter. And if you remember, this one basically returns the observable response. So they to get the data, so because we need to subscribe to some of those methods. So you're going to say subscribe those, and that if we have like unsubscribe, we can basically pass two callback here, one for the success and the other one if there is a failure. We can handle that also. So you're going to say error. If there is error occurs, we will have to handle those error. Okay, this is how we do it here. So inside here, assuming everything is good, and that's where the problem, if there is problem, we need to handle that one too. So here, this response has a property called OK. So basically, like when the server respond with the status OK, or with the value, the HTTP value 200, that means we don't have any problem. Thing work out okay, right? So if that's the case, we come in here, we can say I can say something like response dot, we can call JSON object here, and this JSON I can say ID. That refers to the new ID that would be inserted into backend database. This ID would be available. And then just for now, we can say developer job saved. We're just going to provide this message to the user. But eventually, our goal, the way I'm thinking right now is basically once we saved, we basically redirect the user to our new page called view page. That's where we'll be redirecting. But we are not there yet. Just for now, make sure our save works. We're just going to do alert here with let's say job ID. So we'll have some hint, okay, that basically our saved is working. If there is a problem we need to handle, just for now I'm just going to do a console.log so we know what the error is. This is all we have to do. So basically, since we already have injected our developer data service here, because we needed all these lookup table to bind our drop-down list, so we don't have to do it. So basically on submit, all this, I'm expecting all this thing to happen. And let's just visit our the one thing we also have to do. And let me take a look into my post method here. This is the server side, okay, the API. So when we post it here, okay, this is the post here, HTTP post, and this post developer job. This is where the post basically occurs. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here. And only other thing I have basically I need to add it here is because the created date is the required field, and then I want to set it. I don't really have to set it from the client side. I can set this property here on the server side, and just to indicate whether that field is active or not. This two property is set from the server side. And all the remainings are basically coming out into this object here. Okay. Let's go ahead and build. Okay, build succeeded. I prefer to use Chrome browser, but I don't know if by default it's opening in Internet Explorer in my Visual Studio setting, but there is a way to change the setting, but I need to figure out how. Okay, so but I have this open. Okay. For some reason there is a little delay that flicker. I need to there's a little bar that we have to work on it. Like when I refresh, so basically all those validation messages is visible just very temporarily. Okay, let's go ahead and let's start filling this up. Okay, let's say I'm hiring for a senior software engineer in a company called ABC 123, I don't know, Suite 100, Charleston, West Virginia. Well, could be Washington, I don't know. That's the zip code. Of course, these are all just bogus data. And then, of course, this is United States. So the range, this is going to pay around 100,000 to 200,000 or something like that. Experience level, a lot of experience bunch. I don't know, just junk data. Because this is really a big company. Let's say there are 100 people who works in this company. Company provides the remote option and profit sharing also available. And the company type is a private company. Job full-time. Industry, let's say it's biotechnology. It doesn't really matter. And then let me grab some. Well, I don't know. Let's if it works, then we'll do it. So some job. And now this, as soon as I type something here, some job, this add developer job button became enabled. So at this point, I'm hoping if everything is good, we should be hitting into our breakpoint in the server side. Let's I'm going to say add developer job. Okay. Let's see if it's sent all the data that we need here. Okay, seems like it had most of the data. The only thing I really description is here. Okay, remote option is true. They just have the range. That's our complex type, like company address. It has all those information. Seems like it's working good. So at this point, I can also open my SQL Server profiler, so I can see what kind of SQL generate for insert by the Entity Framework core. Okay, so that is my breakpoint. I continue here. Okay, go ahead, add those, and I'm gonna just get out from breakpoint by doing Shift F11. Okay, it says developer job saved successfully with job ID 8. Okay, that is really cool. Let's look into our backend. Well, let's look into here. This is a kind of query that's not really pertinent to what I'm doing right now, but we can actually see what kind of query that was generated, right? So it seems like we have basically two insert. One into the first insert into here is a developer job, but before it insert into developer job, it also had to make insert into the company address table, because as you can see, this one right here, that was the first insert into our table, because that relationship, it automatically figured that out. Okay, so those are the two insert it made. Once it inserted into company address, now it has the address as a foreign key, because it needs that information to insert into the developer job table. Okay, that looks okay. So we did just not spend that much time in the SQL Server. It's working fine. It started saving our data into backend database. Okay, that is cool. That so just to recap, so far we were able to basically have, now we can basically save as much data as we like. So and we're saving successfully. The next thing we can do right now, it just display that alert, but ideally we don't want that. We want we would like to show the saved data into our job view list or something like that. So let's write. Okay, that's what we're gonna write next. All right, so to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a new folder here into our component folder, and I'm going to say view job. Actually, I have to kill the session here. Okay, using my component, let's go ahead and add a new folder. View job. Okay, here's our view job. Into it, I'm going to add 3 files. Let's add a TypeScript file called add job. I'm going to just call it add job ds for TypeScript. And I'm also going to add an HTML file. I have to change this name because I need to add dot component. Okay. And finally, I also would like to add the CSS file in case if I need to modify. We need to make it our Okay, we don't need that. Our CSS, this is not valid CSS, it might complain later. Okay, and then here is our add job component. Right now this component is empty, not doing anything. Which is going to change. We slowly start writing our code. Okay, this is the only thing I needed right now. So just for now, I'm going to grab this code and put it here. Well, we don't need a bunch of this code. We'll get rid of it, but just to make it work right now, here. It's just a part of add job, but it's not. So our name of our controller is not add job component. It's a view job component. Okay, I can get rid of all of them, but actually I don't need it, but it's not gonna break anything for right now. But as we start writing code for the particular to the view job, we will get rid of these, and some of these might even we need it. So just for now, just stay here. And for now, just I have to change something here. This is not add job anymore. It's a view job component and view jobs component.css. Otherwise, it will complain. Okay. Okay. Now, once that is all done, next thing we have to do is remember, like if you have been following this video, we wrote this job routes folder here, so we can basically import our newly created view job component here. View job, and we have view job component. I don't know why the IntelliSense is not working. Okay. All right. It cannot find our module. Really? Why is that? Here is the view job, and shoot, this is, sorry for that, guys. I made a mistake. That's why I mean to say this one to be a view job. I say add job for some reason. That's the view job, and view job. And okay, my CSS is already, okay, I have view job. Why it is excluded from the project, I have no idea. View job component. View job component. This. Remove that. I don't know why it is retaining those. Okay, we have view job TypeScript file, and then include in project. Okay. Okay, our view job component is now available, and then we can define a new route here, just like before. This refactoring is kind of cool. Remember, like we refactored this one, so all our route is one file instead of having this in one place. So our route path is gonna look like view job, and then it corresponds to view job component. And this is one place we have to change, and we also need to change this one into the shared file here. We have to register this one into the declaration section right here. So view job, it's a view job component, and then once that is done, we can just add this view job component here. Okay, we have registered our view job component into the declaration section of our main configuration file, and then we also have added our navigation. So at this point, once that is all done, so if we go into our add job component right here, hey, why there is so much issue going on here? Okay, this is our add job component here, and then right here, this is where we can do our redirection here. So to do a redirection, we need to import a module. We need to import routers here. So let's go ahead and import a router from this guy right here. So the cool thing about Angular is that we can need whatever module we need. Based on as the need arises, we will be importing more module. If we don't need it, we don't really include the router here. But now we have a need a router. We just need to import it. So we're gonna say, all right, go ahead and import the router for us. Not the route, but the router. So once we have the router, we have to inject this property because we would like to use it here into our constructor. Let's add private router is of type router. Okay. Now, okay, that is the problem. Instead of comma, I had. So here, because our goal is we would like to, once a saved is done successfully, we would like to send the user to our view job section of the page. So to do that, we can say this dot router has a method called navigate. That method, and we need to specify into the array into its parameter. So name of the path. So name of our path that we already defined into our route, we have add job as our route here. Okay, this is all we have to do here. And if everything is okay, but I'm a little suspicious because of all this thing, the file system is working kind of weird way here when I added those. But if everything is good, when we save new data, all the job, we should be redirected into a view job section of the code. Just let me double check if my router is the name of the router is correct. It's add job, otherwise it can fail. It's my job routes and add job, add dash job. Okay, let's go ahead and build this one. I don't know if it builds, we change huge amount of code. We don't have any kind of test going on. Let me refresh this page here also. Okay. Any problem? I don't see any problem here. Let's look it into here. Okay. Seems like it is okay. Let's say Angular developer. That's what they are trying to hire. In company called CD. Address CD. Suite 100. City. I don't know, Houston. Texas. There is a little improvement I have to do on this one, because most of the time we'll just, I don't know, because I live in US and then I don't know other countries and stuff, so I would make the United States as a default into drop down list so that I don't have to do extra work. This job pays 45,000 to, I don't know, 90,000. Experience level maybe as, I don't know, mid-level developer. It has a very small company, maybe 10 developers or something. No, doesn't provide any sharing, doesn't provide anything. Company type is a private company. It's a full-time. Industry is, this is the aerospace industry. Since it is working now, I can just grab the huge data from Stack Overflow. That looks kind of real job. Okay, I'm gonna just grab this whole thing. Additional qualification, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, that is that. That. And then of course, I haven't filled a company type. It's a private company. Oh, I was using the different here. I was using Chrome browser. Okay, now this becomes available. And then let's see if I can do add job here. Since it is working, I should have get rid of that breakpoint. Okay, so our redirection for some reason didn't work. Why it did not work, I don't know. There must be some sort of bug that's preventing it from. Why it didn't come in here? Let's take a look at into the console and see what's the problem. I don't know. It doesn't show any error or anything, and it was unless I did not, refresh the page to reflect the new changes. Anyway, that is the next thing. That will be continued from the next video. In next video, we will be we'll be developing our view page. Thank you so much for watching video and learning, guys. Appreciate it. See you until next time.